will be witness to one of the greatest online events in the history of, well, online events. Dscript proudly brings to you a topic that you deeply care about and whose name is the title of this online event. I'm Don. I am not your host. I am an overdub stock voice included for free with Dscript. So, now, let's meet someone who actually works here.
Hey friends, how's it going?
Hey, welcome.
Kevin, how's your day?
So good. How are you doing, Harmony?
Awesome. Super excited to be here with you and sharing with the Dscript community. Welcome everyone to How to Edit Audio and Video Podcasts and why you should be doing both.
Yes.
Awesome. My name's Harmony Jarudek. I'm one of the customer success managers and product specialists here at Dscript. I've got my awesome colleague here, Kevin. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Kevin. I am a product specialist here at Dscript as well.
Wonderful. So, couple housekeeping items today. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining today. We're going to cover a lot in our hour that we have together. For those of you just getting started with Dscript, you might be wondering, what is it? Why is it important? Dscript is a collaborative audio and video editor that works like a Google Doc. And we're going to dive into the app, show you some tips and tricks and some best practices for editing audio and video content. Today, we're going to take you through some slides, some examples of some great content that's being created, talk about doing in-studio recordings versus remote recordings. And don't worry, we're gonna get into the app and start sharing some workflows, but just so that you can kind of have an expectation of what we're going to cover today. So without further ado, Kevin, what do you think? Should we kick this off?
Let's get right into it.
Excellent. All right. So we are talking about how to edit audio and video podcasts and why you should be doing both. And more importantly, why it's strategically important and how easy it is to do both in Dscript. So let's take a look at this first example. Kevin, talk me through this one.
Yeah, this is an example of Jen and Julian's podcast that they're recording audio and video simultaneously. They release on YouTube. They release on all the streaming platforms for distributing a podcast. And it's a classic, quirky, in-person, one-on-one recording.
Awesome. Should we take a quick listen?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Cool.
I'm not hearing your audio, Harmony.
Awesome. So clearly a lot of chemistry. They have a lot of fun on camera, and it looks like we might not have audio. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we fix that for some of the future examples. Let's take a look at the next one here. We've got Pat Flynn, and Pat has Smart Passive Income podcast. This is where he has interviews, talks strategy, advice for building online businesses. User of Dscript, and so much great content coming from Pat, fellow San Diegan, which is where I reside. So super excited to be chatting about Pat's work. I'll go ahead and pull up the next slide. All right. Kevin, you want to talk about Asian Boss Girl?
Yeah, we wanted to bring up kind of the way folks are releasing multimedia audio and video. So as you can see, Asian Boss Girl is using all of the platforms, branded really, really well. All the crossover between their brand, I love. And it shows that when you land on any page, wherever you're consuming and taking in their content, it's going to feel and look the same with the different operating procedures of each app or each website. So they make it really smooth and clean. I really also love that their landing page is their website. It has their blog and photos and video. And when you log on here, you can listen to whatever episode you're checking out on whatever platform that you like. So instead of having to be in your YouTube search browser or in Apple Podcasts. You can go to the website, find the streaming platform, find the place where you want to consume that piece of content and get there in 2 clicks.
Awesome. So maybe now let's take a quick beat to talk about setting up to record either both in studio versus doing remote recordings. Obviously, you can be doing both. So we have a couple examples here that we'll talk through. Kevin already spoke a little bit about the Jenny and Julian podcast. Kevin, you want to maybe talk through some of the other examples here, and we'll just kind of go from slide to slide?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to kind of just like touch on the aesthetic value and decision that you're going to be making when you're creating your podcast and deciding audio or video. And when you make that ultimate decision to do both using Dscript, there's so many pluses and advantages to having both. So with in-studio recording, obviously we're looking at one camera angle, 2 microphones. It's a very simple setup. For all of us that have been recording throughout the last year and a half, we know that remote recording has presented so many challenges. And when you have the ability and the luxury to record in person, it eliminates a lot of those challenges for you, but maybe presents some new ones. So something to highlight with in-person is that, yeah, you're getting that simple setup. It's really nice, but you might have many voices in the same room, which can cause some mic bleed and some challenges when you're mixing and editing. So something to keep in mind is your spacing, your pacing, and how you're micing everybody up.
Definitely. Cool. And then how about remote recording? I think, especially in the last few years, a lot of folks have had to, switch to this method. We record a lot via Zoom and other methods of these remote recording setups. So maybe we can just chat through this real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the hosts of Asian Boss Girl. You can see they all have the same blue snowball setup with a pop filter in their own spaces. This was kind of in the middle of last year when they were recording these, and it's a challenge sometimes, right? When you have your guests coming on and you're trying to get them set up, but they're in their echoey kitchen. And I also say, looking at their photos, they probably didn't have the best acoustics either. So we think about the challenges that are going into recording and how we can mitigate them. And with Dscript, we're going to talk about sequences, which allow you to have multiple microphones from different sources all in one script. You can edit seamlessly together. And also one of our new features, Studio Sound, which will help out with a lot of those roomy, echoey, maybe air conditioning or heating going on in the back. And here's a few more examples of just different styles of remote recording. In the top left, that's using Riverside FM, great remote recording software that allows you to, with a click of two clicks, you have your recording going, both video and audio paired. You can see folks are using Zoom too. And the top right is a solo recording, one single microphone, one single camera angle. And then maybe the opposite of that is multiple pieces of audio, multiple video sources, all in that tiled view, which can present different challenges, but also some different opportunities to feature more voices.
Absolutely. And I want to be able to get to some of the questions folks dropped in leading up to today's session. But before we do that, I want to talk about why it's strategically important to be able to do both audio and video. So I think first and foremost, you want to have many touch points for exposure, right? So kind of think being omni-channel. And in thinking about the creation process, you're going to have to make decisions both from the production point of view, but also for your audience as well, right? So for example, with driving users from one channel to another for different channels of communication, your YouTube audience might be very different than your Instagram or TikTok audience. So the great thing that you can do in Dscript is that if you have sort of your master recording that you set up, you can switch the orientation for one-to-one so that you can get it ready for Instagram delivery. There's one-click export to YouTube. So aside from the thought of it being omni-channel, there's so many different ways to easily edit and extract just the audio and video, or both in Dscript. So today we're going to show you a little bit of both. Kevin, any other thoughts come to mind when why it's strategically important to do both?
I think you hit the nail on the head with all of those. You can do your editorial work and your mixing and producing work and come out on the other end reaching different audiences, consuming media in different places. And that's so powerful and such a huge asset today.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, let's maybe get started with some of the questions that came in leading up to today's session. We had a couple videos that were sent in, which made me so happy. Thank you to everyone that sent in your questions via video. Jay is behind the scenes, and let's throw that first question in terms of how to get started with Dscript and not get overwhelmed by the technology. Jay, do you?
Hey, I'm so excited that you guys are hosting this. Hopefully, I'm new. I'm getting into it. We're going to have a channel and shows and the whole thing. And we've got that part of it, like organization, but the technology, like setting it up. What do I need? Steps to take, how not to become overwhelmed. Just the basics would also be nice for those of us who are beginners. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Amazing. Such a good question. I think, oftentimes that can definitely be a concern, especially when adopting a new technology. It's like you want to be able to continue to focus on the narrative, focus on the storytelling, and not get overpowered by this new technology, right? So the good news is that Dscript is a really easy tool to use. A lot of the platform is drag and drop. You're, as we mentioned, editing your audio and video just like a doc. So if you know how to edit a document, I think you're in good shape. Kevin, what else might you say to this good question here?
That's so true. And try to make it easy, try to make it intuitive. And it is. And it's a tool that I've been using for so long. And I think we've been hearing for a lot of folks that it creates more collaboration from an earlier point in time on a project if you're collaborating. If you're an individual, it empowers you to control the entire process of producing your media, which is so huge. And we're here to help you along the way. We have our Learning Center, which is in-app. We'll show you in a little bit. We have a fantastic Help Center that has really in-depth articles and blog posts explaining all the different features. And there's a really great Discord community as well that are supporting each other, talking about why they love Dscript and how we can all make it better.
Absolutely. And with that, I think maybe let's go ahead and jump into Dscript. But I would like to invite everyone that's on YouTube, all of our YouTube viewers, to also add in your questions, throw them into the chat. We want today to be as interactive as possible. So please jump in with questions as you have them. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Dscript here. All right. Looks like things are looking good. Excellent. All right. So what are we looking at here? This is Dscript. So for folks that are just diving in, Dscript is a collaborative audio and video editor that works like a Google Doc. And there's lots of tips and tricks to make your workflow as efficient as possible when creating an audio and video podcast. So right now, just a little bit of the lay of the land here. So as I mentioned, this is a Dscript project. You can pull audio and video in to Dscript. Over here on the left, we have what's called compositions. Think of these as arrangements of your files that you're pulling into Dscript. So you can create different versions, duplicate your files to create, let's say, key extracts of an interview. So really easy to stay organized over here on the left sidebar. You can create folders. That's going to be conducive to your workflow. So really easy to sort of get organized and up and running in a few moments, actually. So I'm going to just show you guys from top to bottom, what like a full project might look like, or a composition rather. Get my terminology right. So here I've loaded in a recording that I did with Jay, our head of business development. We're talking about 7 tips for boosting your podcasting productivity. So I've got some images in here. I've got some captions. We'll just take a quick listen so you can get a sense of what's happening here. I'll go to the front of the clip and we'll take a listen. Hey everyone, I'm Harmony. All right, cool. So we've got some imagery, we've got some music, we've got our recording that we pulled in. So here's the magic of Dscript. So you're copying and pasting your audio and video. So let's say I want to get rid of, let's see here. Maybe I'm just going to cut out this sentence here. All right, get rid of that. And so now we see we've made that edit down here in the timeline. The underlying audio and video has been removed. The great thing is that Dscript is a non-destructive editor. So even when we make edits, we still keep your stuff around if you need to bring it back. So just start to drag that back down here in the timeline, and you see that that's now been recovered, right? So just wanted to point that out. So like I said, cut, copy, paste your audio and video. It's as simple as that. Alrighty, so let's kind of take a step back. So we're seeing a composition that's been sort of fully laid out. What does it look like to bring content into Dscript? The good news is that you can bring in pre-recorded material, but you can also use Dscript to record audio and video. We have a fantastic screen recorder that allows you to do both. So I'm going to just do over here on the left. I'm going to say add new. I'm going to add a composition. Okay, and in this case, I already have something that I've pre-recorded. So now we've got our blank slate, kind of like our blank Google Doc, if you will. I'm going to pull this MP4 in, and that's going to kick off our transcription process. So with Dscript, we have automatic transcription that gives 95% accuracy. So within a matter of moments after you pull in your content, you're going to have a transcript of your video here. And so the cool thing here is that I know there's two speakers, and I'm going to add in some speaker labels. This makes it really easy when you start making edits directly in the script, so you can see who's talking at what exact moment. So if I click here, I'm going to say detect speakers. You know there's two. I'm going to say done, and then in a moment I'll get a pop-up that will give me an opportunity to identify who those speakers are. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Get started.
All right. So welcome to Dscript.
That is definitely Jay. Pull up. That's me. Okay. And that's me again. All right. So I'm going to close that up. And so now in this case, this video is about 6-7 minutes. So you'll see that we get a script back just literally within seconds. I've already uploaded this, and okay, great. That just finished. So what are some of the things, Kevin, you might do to start cleaning up your video and audio once you've pulled it in? What would you recommend maybe I get started with once I've imported some content?
Great question. So many great editorial and kind of surgical editing features that we have in Dscript. Up in the top left, you'll see Harmony go to the magnifying glass, which is our search function. You can search the entire project, or you can search just that composition and that arrangement of your content. You can search for text, which are just text phrases. So if someone that you're interviewing says nevertheless all the time, or some other hilarious phrase, you can find those and maybe remove a couple. You can also search for word gaps, which are all of your spaces when someone's pausing in their speech. If your guest has a tendency to pause for a few seconds before answering, you can identify them. Here you can see Harmony says, let's shorten our gaps that are longer than 2 seconds. You can change that to whatever you'd like, and you can replace it with a space that is of your desire. So you can take all of those awkward pauses and make them natural. The last that I really love is our filler words. So filler words are the ums and uhs and likes and you-knows that we all use in our casual speech, and they happen a lot with storytelling or podcast interviewing. And what you can do in Dscript is find them all. You can identify the ones that you want to remove, and you can choose to delete them straight out, and it'll just snap your clip together, or you can replace it with a gap clip, which is our beautiful AI-generated room tone, which identifies the sound of your space and fills it so it sounds natural and smooth and nice. And there's a feature that I really, really love to use is the ignore. So ignore will strike it out. It will still remove it from what we're hearing, but we'll still see it in the timeline. So we can always go through and make adjustments if we want to keep one in to make it sound a little bit more natural or a little bit more fluid. And often if you're taking out all the likes and knows, sometimes those are used in our speech and we want them in. So it's very easy to apply to all, remove them, and find the ones that we might maybe want to keep in our script. Really easy.
Nice. I'll go ahead and delete these. I'll apply to all. That'll see. So now we have a notification. It's deleting 9 selections there. And I think in this case we had sort of a false start in our training here. So I think, yep, I can actually just get rid of all of this. So it's as easy as just highlight this and delete it. Oh, catch that again. Highlight it, delete it. Magic. All right.
It's no more looking at the waveform and playing it and trying to find where it starts and stops. It's just simply reading text and making those edits. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely use the filler word removal, get rid of those word gaps. And a couple other things you can do to sort of help make that initial edit more efficient. If you haven't already, check out our transcription glossary. If you have specific terminology that you're using in your podcast or acronyms that the AI misses, because it's AI, it's not perfect, but it gets better over time. We have what's called our transcription glossary, so you can train that AI to improve the transcription over time. And I'll bring that up using my favorite keyboard shortcut. If you're on a Mac, Command K. If you're on Windows, Control K. That brings up our conductor. So this is how you tell Dscript what you'd like to do. So in this case, I want to pull up our glossary. And cool. So now you can see we've got some terms, we've got some acronyms that we frequently use in our projects here. So just go ahead and add those terms here, and it will improve over time. Definitely have to work on my last name because that one is hard to catch. So go ahead and add those terms into your glossary, and you'll be set on the next time you run automatic transcription.
So great.
Awesome. Another thing I like to use is our Transcription Wizard. So if you check out this wrench icon here, this is yet another way you can shorten word gaps, remove filler words. But you'll see this detect transcription errors. Kevin, you want to tell us what the Transcription Wizard does for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we have 95+% accuracy in our transcription, which is fantastic, great starting point. But sometimes, as you're saying, the AI just doesn't get it right. And there's a couple other missed things. So what's going to happen is the wizard is going to go through and identify any areas where it thinks the transcription may have been a little slippy, may have been a little wrong, and get us up to 96, 98% accuracy. It's going to analyze your script. It's going to spit out a bunch of little green lines where it thinks those are having some challenges. And you can go through and audition them really quickly, correct the text, or accept what was already done, and get through and have an even more accurate transcript to work from.
Absolutely. Awesome. So yeah, definitely recommend checking out the Transcription Wizard. It'll help save a little time as you go through your script, making some updates. Couple other things with respect to the collaboration aspect. I think this is where Dscript is so powerful for teams. So let's say I'm working on my video podcast. I've gone through, I've made some initial edits. Let's say I want to go through and make some selects for someone that's handling perhaps posting on my social media channels. So for example, if I wanted to find where we talk about, I'm going to come over here to the search actually, and I'm going to find where we mentioned the first tip. Awesome. So tip number 1, we want to extract, we want to find that spot. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, and maybe want to bring Kevin's attention here. Kevin, should we create a clip for YouTube or something like that? So I can mention him. He'll get notified just like you would in a Google Doc. You can tag your colleagues here. They'll get notified that they can come into the project. They can make edits if they need to, if you've given them edit permission. Otherwise, they can come in and just comment back, and then you'll get notified they've made some updates here. So very collaborative by nature. Kevin, how about you? I know you've used Dscript in the past prior to getting started here. Any thoughts with respect to the collaboration piece of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, comments are so powerful, right? Being able to tag someone, notify them that you're seeking their approval or input. You can resolve those comments as you get going too, and you can always pull them back if you need to revisit an editorial decision. When you have a composition going, this is the comments view, and you'll have a long list of comments if you have them, and you can go through and click each one, and it'll bring you to that point in the scripts. You can go through and review them really quickly without having to scroll and find them and see if they exist. Another collaboration tool, which is so sweet, is our publishing page. So a lot of times we're working with folks, or we have a guest on that maybe isn't using Dscript. They're just a guest and a pro in their field. We can create a little page of our composition and send it out to them. It creates a URL. We can have it public or unlisted, and they can review the content, review their interview. They'll see the script, they'll see the video if there's video, and they can drop comments. So maybe they want to just be able to make sure that all of the information that's going out is correct and they're represented well. It's such a great useful tool, so we don't have to be going through looking for timestamps and trying to locate where things are happening. It gives us a landing place for all of our collaboration. Looks just like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, so just wanted to share an example so that folks can see it in real time. So this gives you an opportunity to go through, review the content. It will follow along in the interactive transcript. So just like you can in the Dscript app, it will follow along. I don't think we're hearing audio, but you can see that it's tracking down here in the transcript as you move through. And then to Kevin's point, you can use the commenting feature just like you do in the app. So create a highlight, comment. Should we cut? So really creates that flawless or ease of use experience without having to jump into the app. You just go to the share URL.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for bringing that one up, Kevin. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's jump back into the app so we can keep diving into some tips and tricks. And once again, please ask any questions that you might have. We'd love to answer those on the spot as you have them. All right. So Kevin, maybe let's talk a little bit about, thinking about working with audio and video, maybe we could talk a little bit about multi-track and sequences, the way that, like, once you pull some content in, what's the best way to navigate working in the script versus timeline versus when I might need to go into the sequence view and work with some crosstalk, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So our sequence, creating a sequence in Dscript is when you have two or more pieces of audio and or video from different locations or different guests in this case. And it allows us to get a really beautifully laid out script that has these speaker labels. So you can say who's talking when. You don't have to look at multiple tracks and see where they overlap. It's all just laid out vertically. And it's really helpful when you have those multiple angles, those multiple mics, and you want to be able to isolate some of their voice or some of that camera angle and make changes to theirs, but not make changes to everyone. As we all know, when you download, like a Zoom video, it gives you that one angle with the speaker view, and it's one piece of audio, and that can create some challenges. So here we have, in this case, it's 5 folks being recorded. This is all audio, and you can see each line horizontally, each clip horizontally is a different speaker, and they're labeled with a different color. And in this case, this interview, it's heated, and they're talking pretty vigorously and passionately, and there's some crosstalk at the beginning and end of a lot of the folks' segments. So if you zoom in a little bit further into the sequence, you can kind of identify those and say, you know what, actually this crosstalk just doesn't work for me. I want to remove some of them. You can isolate them individually. Say, you know what, Vijay, we're going to take his out. Craig's, we're going to take his out too. And now we maybe have a little bit more of a manageable interaction between Sonal and Dave. And that's really helpful with audio and video, especially if you're doing some overlays with video and a speaker comes up, or maybe it split screens and it goes back to a speaker. It gives you just way more flexibility and way more options to make editorial decisions and be in charge and have control of your content, what's going out. So all those points that are vertically lined up, it's all crosstalk. It's really helpful. Sometimes it's probably a dog barking in the background or someone coughing. When we were recording on an isolated track, just one track for all of your guests, these decisions and these editorial, having the editorial flexibility isn't there. So those sequences can help out so much.
Definitely. Awesome. Yeah, sequences, I would say, to the first question that we had that came in, I think, Dscript is easy to get started with. As you sort of start unraveling, opening up the onion, there are so many layers to Dscript, so you can get pretty deep here. Once you come into the sequence view, start adding in some effects. If you need to add some music, some B-roll, some imagery that you want to incorporate into your audio and video podcasts, you can easily do that. And with that, why don't we talk about that a little bit? I'll go ahead and pull up that initial clip that we brought in. So we saw an example of this sort of finished product here. We had a title sequence, we had some music, we can add captions. So let's go to the more unedited version. And I'm going to go ahead and let's say you want to pull in some music at the front. So all you do, it's just simply drag and drop. So find your music file. I've got a short clip here. I'm going to pull this in. Great. You just simply drag it right onto the script. And now that's added an additional track. And it's actually longer than the entire interview. So we can actually shorten this up a little bit. So I'm going to grab onto the track and just click and start dragging it over until you see it shorten a little bit. Perfect. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can start to, and I'm going to actually use our hand tool so that we can shift over into the timeline a little bit. Perfect. And I want this to start a little bit before Jay and I start talking. So I'm going to grab onto the word bar here and shift it over. So it's going to play for a few seconds before we actually come in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit further. Now from here, I could add in, let's say, a fade in and a fade out. I also might want to add in some imagery before. Maybe I want to add in a GIF or a GIF. I'll go ahead and pull that in. Let's use this one. Just drag it right on into the script again. Perfect. So it's added another track. I want to line this up with my music here. So I'm going to grab this here, have it start here at the same moment. So let's take a quick listen and look. Hey everyone, I'm Harmony. Cool. And another thing, so the music's a little loud, so I can go in and just adjust the gain on my track here. Come over here to the inspector. And I'm going to bring that down just a little bit so you can see the audio levels starting to come down. So really easy to layer in additional assets, whether it's music, imagery, B-roll, audio effects, really easy to just drag them onto the script or down into the timeline, and you can start assembling your tracks just like you would either, in Premiere or our Pro Tools. Oh, awesome. We've got a question about studio sound. Thank you, Pam. So Kevin, you want to talk a little bit about studio sound? We've got some examples here of demonstrating the differences with studio sound and without.
Yeah, absolutely. So studio sound is our noise reduction and audio enhancement tool within Dscript. It's currently in beta, and we have some exciting new updates coming out very soon. The current version of studio sound is one-click checkbox, and for a lot of folks, when we're recording at home, we're recording in the office, there's the background air or heating system going, or we're in a large space and it sounds very echoey. And our hope, and maybe your hope too, is that you're going to put out some content that sounds and looks really great that you're proud of. And audio is just such a great starting point to getting your audio sounding pro. And Studio Sound eliminates all of those unwanted features of your audio. You go into your project files folder here, you find the piece of audio that you want to as Studio Sound 2. And you simply just click that checkbox. And what it's going to do, it's going to analyze the audio for you and hear all of that echo and hear all of that background noise and reduce it, eliminate it, and make it sound like you're nice and close to the mic, even like you're in a studio sound.
Should we take a listen to something with it and without, and we can?
Let's do it.
All right.
Sounds
So
great.
here's the same video with studio sound. Actually, let's listen to it without first. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Harmony at Dscript. I'm one of the customers. Cool. And I've got my microphone, let's see, about, probably about a foot away from me. So, and I'm using a nice Wave 3 mic. Here it is with studio sound. Hey everyone, I'm Harmony at Dscript. I'm one of the customer success managers and product specialists. So to Kevin's point, it sounded like I was a little closer up to my microphone, speaking directly into it. So definitely play around with it. As Kevin mentioned, it's still in beta, but we have some super exciting audio effects that are coming later on this year and into the new year. So we're just starting to scratch the surface with some awesome AI audio effects.
Yeah. And what I love to do also paired with studio sound is on the top right here in our composition or in our track inspector, if we have something highlighted, is all of the components of our audio. So pan and volume, you can add effects as well. We have compression and EQ. Compression is that beautiful trick to bring all the highest stuff a little bit lower and all the quietest stuff up a little bit to make it more even and smooth. You can equalize your voice to maybe pull out some of the unwanted tones, and really helps you just get from that raw audio, untreated state to something that's sounding pro. A few clicks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see here. So we have talked about creating highlights or clipping. Creating highlights and clipping is a really nice way of extracting some key moments from your podcast. So I want to make sure we cover how to go about doing that. So I'm gonna go to our full length video here where Jay and I covered 7 different tips. So I'm gonna go ahead and search for tip number 1. Okay, I know this is what I want to grab here. Tip number 1. Cool. So tip number 1, I want to go ahead and grab that first moment here. So I'm going to highlight this. And so a couple of things. You can either do a clip to composition, and that will extract just this moment where we're talking about this first tip. So if I right click, I can clip to a composition. I can create a new one, or I can add it to an existing. For the purpose of demoing today, I'm going to create a new one. And so we see that selection has been added to a new composition. So I see now I have clips from the 7 tips. So now just got that little moment here. As we saw earlier, you can also just go in and add a highlight. This is nice, especially if you have, let's say, a longer interview. You want to go through, identify some key moments that you might want to turn into an audiogram later, or create a shortened version of your interview. So you can just highlight those moments, come over here to the title, and you can copy those highlights, all highlights, and pull those into a new composition. Now we're moving a little bit fast, but I want to make sure we have time for other questions. I'm going to say paste. And now we've just got those highlights added into a new composition. So really easy to grab those key moments and highlight them into their own individual compositions.
Yeah. And this is just such a key for making short social segments. You want to create that little moment from your interview and post it to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And it's so quick and easy. And when we get into exporting, we'll show you all the different ways that we can do that later on. But yeah, I love the highlighting feature. You can, multiple colors too. So you can say, oh, we're going to use these ones for this location, these ones for a different location. I love it.
Exactly. So yeah, you can go, as Kevin mentioned, different colors. So it'll be easy to go in and identify, what highlights you want to grab here, right?
So cool.
Another important thing. So in thinking about your video content, you need it to be accessible, right? I know that sometimes when I open up, Instagram in the morning, I might not have the volume on, so I just want to see, I just want to be able to read. So you can easily add captions to your content. We call them fancy captions. So you can do this literally within just a couple clicks. So if you highlight all, and then I'm going to use our keyboard shortcut again, Command K, and we're going to say captions. Cool. So now we've added a new track, just like we saw earlier with some of the music and audio that we were adding in. It's up here at the top. Let's go ahead and take a look and see. There we go. Maybe I want to pull this down to the bottom. And what I can do here is if you want to customize the look and feel, match this to your branding. If we go into show properties, that'll open up the inspector. Maybe we want to change. Actually, I'm pretty happy with the background color, but you could go in, make a switch. Maybe you want to change the font here. The cool thing is that when you go to export your video, these captions are going to be automatically burned in to your video. So for instance, if I wanted to go ahead and change the orientation here to a square, I can go ahead, get that ready for Instagram, make a couple different versions of this composition. So I can easily go ahead and do that by coming into the clip properties and making that adjustment.
And Harmony, yeah, I just want to point out too, this was a question that we got from Kate Waldo-Jones about changing the orientation or aspect ratio of our videos.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and take that, Kevin?
No, that was it. You covered it naturally. Natural throw, Harmony. Yeah. No, up in that top right, where the ratio is, you can change for whatever location or whatever platform you're exporting to. Landscape, portrait, square, custom.
Exactly. Yeah. Super easy to come in and make that adjustment. So the inspector is your friend when you need to go in and make some fine-tune edits or some additional customizations to your content. Mm-hmm. Awesome. What do we think, Kevin? Should we talk about exporting? Keep the questions coming in. But yeah, we'd love to ensure that we're covering all aspects of the creation, editing, and sharing experience.
Absolutely. So you've edited your piece down, your video, your audio, and you've added captions. You've added maybe some shapes and lower thirds and all that stuff. You have it sounding and looking how you want to. Now you're ready to get it out into the world anywhere, whether that's a location on a computer or into one of our streaming or distribution partners. So there's three main options with our exports. Our first is the cloud export. We talked about Page. That's that public URL where you can get feedback or send it out to any folks. So many different options to customize that as well. You can have comments on or off. You can have the transcript on or off, depending on what you're looking for. We also have the ability to create audiograms. And audiograms, as we all know, are just such a key for marketing our podcast these days. And what we've done at Dscript is given you a number of different options in a template form. So you can have it look and feel how you'd like. You can add your own logo. You can add your branded color. All of the different options that you might want to change for your audiogram, we have that ability. And so going back to that workflow of clipping to a composition or creating highlights into a new composition, creating that composition with the clips, highlighting a section, creating an audiogram, clicking export, you're done. And you have your social post, and it took you 25 seconds. Really quick and easy. We also have the ability to export straight to YouTube if you're signed into YouTube, your YouTube account. And we also have the ability to export audio and or video to a number of different distributing partners that we have. Depending on what the content is, it'll be available or grayed out, and you can check those out and decide which one is right for you.
Yeah, but Buzzsprout is a great choice here, in terms of getting it out to different channels. This list continues to grow as well. So we just recently added Wistia and Restream. So depending on the format of your content, for example, you see that the Captivate and Castos, these are going to be for audio only. So perhaps if you are just grabbing the MP3 of your podcast, you could then distribute it to one or both of those platforms. So really easy to just do that one-click export.
Yeah. We had a great question. We could loop back to this. I would love to.
Yeah.
I think sequences are so powerful and so useful. Question from Gio is, did Dscript make the multi-sequence with 5 speakers from one piece of audio, or did each speaker record themselves and 5 audio files were imported?
Yeah.
Choice 2, that second half is what's correct. So what all these folks did is they had a 5-way interview conversation. They were all in their home, each in their respective homes, and they recorded themselves as Harmony and I would right now with our own setup at home. The producer for the show gathered all of the audio after, synced them up in Dscript to make that sequence. So that's why when you open up the sequence view and you look under the hood, you can see that when someone else is talking, there's not audio in the other person's mic. If all these 5 folks were on stage somewhere or in the same room, there would be that mic bleed, but it's all isolated, so you can really edit and manipulate each person's audio independently.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way one of our support team members thinks about sequences. They call it a virtual container for your file. So when you go to create a new composition, you can also do a sequence, pull your files in. Let's say you recorded on Riverside FM, pull those files, and they'll be in and around the same link. So Dscript will automatically identify, hey, do you want to create a sequence? And then it'll kick that process off to allow you to come into this view and start making edits.
Yeah, let's talk about dog talk. I think we're piloting this idea where we talk to friends and colleagues and just talk about their dogs in a short, crunchable way to consume your dog story. And here we have an interview. There are 4 of us, and what happened, as we all have done, as someone on one of the ends of the conversation didn't record their video. So we have this big blank spot. So with the beauty of Dscript, we can see that, oh yeah, there's this huge blank spot. We want to cut that out, and we want to start from Harmony's bit talking about her pup. So we can make that edit. We pull it in. And in this case, it's the same thing. Carlton, you had a question. Do sequences work the same for multiple video tracks? And the answer is yes. So here we all recorded our video the same way in our home at our desks, and the producer synced those videos after and create a sequence out of 3 videos, and you can see them synced right here. So we have our colleague Mickey's video, we have myself, Kevin, and Harmony's video all together, and the same way that we're editing video previously in our kind of 2-way conversation between Harmony and Jay in that other comp, we have a 3-way conversation here, and you can take those videos, move them all over the screen, change the layout, all the same video editing features that we want. You can add speaker labels and lower thirds and captions. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. So yeah, this was a lot of fun recording. We did this on Zoom one afternoon. It was pretty quick. And then Kevin assembled everything into a project. And as you mentioned, it's really easy to go into that sequence view and make adjustments as needed. And as we saw earlier, you can add in imagery. So I added an imagery of my pup here, just so that you could.
He is mostly black with some white.
You can add in some phase, just like you can with music. So really easy to start layering those in. Had to give a shout out to my pup.
Love it. Oh Regal.
Oh, great question. So question about exporting on a free account. So I do believe with our free plan, there is going to be a watermark. So if you jump up to a creator or pro plan, you can export beyond 720p, and then you'll have it without the watermark.
Great.
Great question.
Want to jump back into some of the export options?
Yeah, let's do it.
The next lineup we have is our file export, which is you're not sending it out directly to a distributor or to a streaming platform, but you might have another, and you can export any component of your composition. So you can export text, which is going to be your transcripts, and you can include or disclude any amount of features. You can send it to any kind of format. Amazing for getting that transcript out and putting your show notes or in the notes of your video. You can also send out just subtitles. So if you're using a platform that requires an SRT or VTT, you can export subtitles. You can also, this is where we're talking about doing both, is if you're exporting your video, you can also export just audio. So by editing your video in Dscript, You can export that video, put it out to YouTube, put it out wherever else you're distributing, adjust some of the audio levels, add your metadata, and put it out just like that. At the same time, in the same process, you can go to export just the audio. And now you have your audio file, which is going to be distributed for those audio only platforms. And you have your video file, which can be distributed to your video only platforms. And simply in that double export feature, you have your audio and video podcast done and out into the world. Really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So oftentimes, depending, on your audience and the different platforms that you're using, you might want to think about how you keep some of this material organized. So setting up a folder structure that is just for social clips, folder for, let's say, just transcripts that you're going to be using. So it's really easy to pair some of these resources, like a transcript or SRT or VTT, with that video and or audio file. So it's great to have everything kind of packaged up, ready for the next week of material that you're going to be sharing out.
So true.
And then lastly, if you need to do some additional fine tuning, let's say some color correction in Premiere or some advanced sound design that you can't yet do in Dscript, you can create a timeline export. So I know, Kevin, in the past, you've done a lot of work with the Pro Tools timelines. You can do Adobe exports as well. For example, if you need to pull something into Premiere, you can grab that XML. Really easy to generate. And then, once you start assembling it in Premiere, it'll stack just like a standard project that you'd be creating from scratch in Premiere.
Yeah, I can't really stress enough how powerful it is. If you are a user of Final Cut, Premiere, Pro Tools, Audition, it allows you to do all of these editing components and make all of your editorial and organizational decisions, and that it pulls over into that export. So when you open up that session, it's already beautifully laid out. It's organized. All your cuts are made. Your ums and uhs are removed. It's pretty unbelievable. I remember the first time I used it, and it just opened up my eyes to so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're coming into the last 10 minutes here. I want to make sure we're able to answer some questions that came in leading up to today. So we had a great question. Can Dscript handle large files, and is there any sort of limit to what you can upload? The good news is right now there are no limits to the amount of content that you bring into Dscript or create in Dscript. You can actually even record in 4K. So with our screen recorder, you can record either your desktop or a full webcam recording. And like I said, you can record up to 4K. And so the screen recorder is an excellent tool for creating quick video messages that I need to send Kevin a note about something that's happening in the app. Great for internal communications, demonstration videos. Check out the screen recorder. It's also, if you're just getting started in Dscript and you're on a free account, screen recorder is a free feature of Dscript. So check that out. I think I saw another question about being able to see if Dscript can work with Zapier. I'll go ahead and throw in our article specifically on Dscript's integration with Zapier, but this allows you to automate some of your workflows. So for example, if you want to automatically transcribe files when they're added to your Google Drive or your Dropbox, the Zapier integration can help you accomplish that. So we'll go ahead and put that in the chat for the folks that were curious about that. I'll put that in now. Awesome. How about what other questions do folks have? Don't leave us hanging.
Unfortunately, I do not. Please asking if we speak Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese.
Oh, sorry. No. Maybe that was a question about multi-language support. I'm not sure, but Dscript supports English only for now, but definitely at the top of the feature request list. I'll go. Another thing I'll mention is if you do have questions for our team, down here in the bottom right hand corner, if you go to this question mark, you can chat with us live, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can check on what's new. This way you can stay up to date on our releases. You go to our feature requests board. This, if you have a request that you're not seeing in the queue yet, go ahead and add it there. And then lots of excellent training videos. As Kevin mentioned earlier, we have a learning center here with some tutorials that will help you get started and hopefully not too overwhelmed, as you get acquainted with the system.
Yeah, that first video question that we received is just, how do you get comfortable with a new platform and a new program? And for Dscript, we try to make that as easy as possible. And all of these tutorial videos pop up in the app so you can play them and listen to them, watch them, learn from them while you're working on your content. You can go into the Help Center and search as you're working. Feature requests. As you're working and you have that brilliant idea of something that Dscript doesn't yet have, drop that to us, because that's how we learn. That's how we make this for you. Love to give any folks that are joining today to a chance to try Dscript out. So anyone here wants to try Dscript Pro account, which is our highest plan with all of these features that we've shown today, please email us and we'll shoot you a free subscription and plan for a month, and you can mess around and discover all the powerful tips. You can email who should we email, Harmony?
You guys can hit me up. So I'm just harmony@dscript.com. I'll have you sign up for a free account and I'll boost you up to a pro trial for 30 days. I would love to get you, acquainted with all of the bells and whistles of Dscript and what it can offer to help you with your audio and video podcasts.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, perfect. harmony@dscript.com. And then we also, we try to do webinars fairly frequently. So coming up in the next week, we're going to be talking about how educators can be using Dscript for creating online learning content, online courses, creating content for the flipped classroom. So try to tune in next week if you're an educator or curious about how Dscript can be used for creating educational content. It's going to be really fun. We have a guest speaker from UC Santa Barbara. So check us out in a week. It's back to school, right? Can't believe it's already mid-September. So perfect. There we go. So definitely sign up for the next one. And then if you haven't seen a webinar that hasn't covered some of your specific questions, tell us about it. Tell us what you'd like us to cover in future sessions. These hours are dedicated to you, to the Dscript family. We want you to be getting all of the relevant information to help support you and make the most of your time in the app. So tell us what you'd like to learn, and we'd love to get additional sessions scheduled that are going to support your workflows.
Well, thank you all for joining today. This has been awesome. Great questions, and I hope we covered all of your questions and ideas on how you can make video and audio podcasts in Dscript.
Thanks all so much for joining. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.